Hi everyone, it's Diane. Welcome to my basement. Today we're going to be in our workbooks on page 40 and we're going to be learning about missing terms. So what is a missing term? A missing term is a number that needs to be found in an equation to get the equality. What? It just means that they're going to take away one of our numbers and we have to figure out what number is not there that's missing. So it's a bit of a riddle, and I love riddles. So they're going to be giving us addition, subtraction, and even multiplication equations. And we have to find out what number they took away that is missing. Let's first look at addition. To find the missing term in an addition, you need to use subtraction. In other words, do the inverse operation. That's a mouthful. So if our number is missing and we want to know what number plus 126 equals 278, what they're telling us is that we subtract. So we take 278 minus 126, and that will equal our answer, 152. So 152, we put it back in, and it would be 152 plus 126 equals 278. But what if the missing number wasn't the first number, it was the second number in our equation? What if we knew we had 212, but we didn't know what number plus 212 equals 335? What they're telling us is we use subtraction. We take 335, we subtract 212, and that gives us our missing answer. And the number was 123. So we plug it back into our square there, and we have 212 plus 123, and it equals 335. Do you think the same is going to happen when we have subtraction? Let's look and see what the book tells us. If we're using subtraction, and it says find the missing term, oh, look at this. We use either addition or subtraction. Well, that's going to be difficult to remember because before we just used subtraction, but now we have to decide, do I use addition? Do I use subtraction? How do I know which one to use? It says if the first term is missing, so do you see where there's a missing number? They call this a term. So if the first number is missing, they want us to add the numbers together. And if the second number is missing, then we have to subtract. Ay, ay, ay. You know what? I know how to make this easier for you to remember. What I do is I take smaller numbers. So here we have some easier numbers to look at. All right, so I always ask myself this question, and as long as you ask yourself this question, you're gonna remember which to do, add or subtract. Are you ready for the question? Always ask yourself, what number is the biggest? B-I-G-G-E-S-T. What number is the biggest or has the most value? So let's look at this. What number is the biggest? So when I'm adding numbers, when you add two numbers together, which number is going to be your biggest number? Meaning which number has the highest value? Well, when you add two numbers together, the last number is going to have the highest value, or is going to be your bigger number. So if you already know your bigger number, you're going to have to subtract. So here I would do 14 take away 5 equals 9. So I know that 9 plus 5 is 14. So if you know your biggest number, you have to subtract to get a smaller number. Does that make sense to you? Let's try again. This time I'm doing addition, but my second term or my second number is missing. So when we're adding two numbers together, your biggest number when you add is going to be that last number. So if you already have your biggest number, you have to subtract because you need a smaller number. So 15 take away 3 equals 12. 3 plus 12 equals 15. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Now, when we're subtracting, for now in grade 4, when you're subtracting, the bigger number is going to be the first number. Because we haven't learned about negative numbers yet, other than the weather, right? When it's below 0. But when we do subtraction, we know that the first number is going to be your biggest number. It's going to have the highest value. So if we already have the biggest number, what do we have to do? Do we add or subtract? You're right, we subtract because we have the bigger number. So 18 take away 7 equals, what does 18 take away 7 equal? Did you guess 11? Or you knew 11? So 18 take away 11 equals 7. Now we have another subtraction, but this time our biggest number is missing. Uh-oh. So in order to get the biggest number now, what do you have to do to two numbers to get an even bigger number? Do you subtract or add? You're right, you add. So 8 plus 6 is going to give us a bigger number, and we need the bigger number. So that equals 14. 8 plus 6 equals 14. And 14 take away 6 is going to equal 8. So that's the takeaway from this. This is what I want you to ask yourself. What is the biggest number? What number is the biggest? What number is the biggest? And as soon as you figure out what number is going to be your biggest number, then you know if you have to subtract or add. I also want you to notice that you're going to be subtracting 3 times and only adding once. You only add when the first number is missing and you have to subtract. It's very confusing, I know. So just stick with asking yourself, what number is the biggest? And if you have the biggest number, you need to subtract. And if the biggest number is missing, you have to add the other two numbers together. So let's see what else they need to tell us. They also tell us that when you have multiplication, to find the missing term, you have to use division. Oh, we knew this before, didn't we? Because we knew our fact families. So if you don't know what number times 6 is 42, you know you just take 42 and you divide by 6. So 42 divided by 6 is 7. 7 times 6 is 42. And if the second number is missing, it doesn't matter, you can still divide. 8 times what number is 72? You just do the reverse. 72 divided by 8 equals 9. So 8 times 9 is 72. Let's try some of these out, okay? Let's look at page 41. So on page 41, we have 9 times what number equals 90? So to find the answer, you can do 90 divided by 9 equals what number? This one's easy because there's a 0. And we know that 9 times what number equals 90? It's 10. So 90 divided by 9, it's going to equal 10. But they're just asking us what the equation will be. So you just need the equal sign. They just want you to set it up. If you wrote in the answer, that's okay. You can write in the answer as well. Let's look at B. What number times 7 equals 63? So they want you to set up the equation. So you should start with the 63. You're going to divide 7, and that is how you're going to find your answer, isn't it? Okay, let's try D. I'm going to choose the one in the center. If I have the missing number first, and I'm adding 432, it's going to equal 655. So you need to ask yourself, when I'm adding two numbers, what number is going to be the biggest number? So when you're adding two numbers, the biggest number is going to be your answer, isn't it? It's going to be your sum. So if you know the biggest number, to find the first number, you're going to have to subtract because you have the biggest number already. So 655 take away 432 is going to give us the first number. I hope that makes sense. How about we look at number 2? For number 2, it says, write the missing term in each of the equations. So we're only going to look at A to D. Record your answer in the table on the right and draw an X on it. So here they want you to put an X where your answer shows up. That number that's left over that does not have an X on it, it's going to be your mystery number. That's a lot of information, isn't it? Okay, so if you don't understand, you should read it again. It says, write the missing term in each equation. So you're going to have to write an answer in each equation. Then it says, record your answer in the table on the right. So on the right, you're going to put an X on the number. So if your answer is not in this table, it means you've made a mistake and you have to check your answer again. There's going to be one number left over, and that's going to be the answer to your mystery number. Okay, so let's look at A. We have 456, and we know that 234 plus this mystery number is going to equal 456. All right. Well, I'm adding. So where is the biggest number? Where's the biggest number? Raise your hand if 234 is your biggest number. Raise your hand if the missing number is the biggest number. Okay, and raise your hand if 456 is going to be your biggest number. If your hand is up, that's right. Because when you're adding, the biggest number is going to be at the end of your equation. So to find this missing number, are we going to add or are we going to subtract? We are going to subtract because we already have the biggest number. So we take 456. We're going to subtract 234. 6 take away 4, because we start in our units column, right? 6 take away 4 is 2. 5 take away 3 is 2. And 4 take away 2 is 2. So I have 222. And so do you. Way to go. Let's try another one. Let's look at D. So D says 56 take away what number equals 24? All right, so we have to ask ourselves, which number is the biggest number? Raise your hand if 56 is the biggest number. Okay, raise your hand if the missing number is the biggest number. And raise your hand if 24 is the biggest number. So those of you who had your hand up first, 56 is going to be your biggest number. When we're subtracting, the bigger number is going to be first. So if we have the biggest number, we're going to have to subtract to find out what this number is. So we do 56, take away 24, and that will tell us our missing number or our missing term. So 6 take away 4 is 2, and 5 take away 2 is 3. So I have 32. And so do you. Now don't forget, when you find your answers, you have to put an X on them in your box, in your mystery box up here. Okay? So in this table, go ahead and put an X on 222 and put an X on the number 32 so that you can find out which number is left over at the end. All right, what you can do now is turn the page. And we're going to solve some problems. Let's look at B. Look at his name, Eruditus, Eruditus. Mr. E. You know what? When I can't read names, or it's a name that it looks very hard to pronounce and I can't ask the person what their name is, I just say Mr. E, because I just like to save time that way. So we'll call him Mr. E. Mr. E adores books on history and on magic. He has read 102 history books. Good for him. How many books on magic has he read? If he has read 309 books in all. Wow. So he's read a total of 309 books. So I know that he has read a total of 309 books. I wonder how long it took him to read 309 books. It would take me several years to read 309 books, if they're like chapter books. All right, so Mr. E, he reads history and magic, and so I think it's going to be a plus. And I know he read 102 history books, but I don't know how many magic books he's read. Well, what is the biggest number going to be? When we're adding two numbers together, the biggest number is going to be the sum. You're right, that last number, 309, is going to be our biggest number. So if I have the biggest number, I have to subtract 102 to find out what that mystery number is. So let's do that. I'm going to line up my numbers. So I have 309, take away 102, and that will tell me how many books on magic that Mr. E has read. So I have 9, take away 2 is 7, yes. 0, take away 0, can I do that? Of course I can, is 0. And then 3, take away 1 is 2. So I believe that Mr. E has read 207 books on magic. I wonder if it's the Magic Tree House, because I would read 207 books on the Magic Tree House. And we're right. It is 207 books on magic. Excellent. So on page 3, it gets a little bit more difficult, doesn't it? It also gets difficult to see if I don't move my camera. There we go. Igor. Whew, I'm just giving you all types of answers, aren't I? Igor is the oldest wizard in the world. Wow. Maybe he's in like Harry Potter. Maybe this is Dumbledore's brother or something like that. Igor is the oldest wizard in the world. In 234 years, he will be 1,002 years old. I don't even want to live that old. Oh my gosh. If you subtract 534 from his current age, you get the age of his son. How old is Igor's son? Explain your answer. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay, so let's see. They've split it into 2 different problems. In 234 years, he will be 1,002. So let's figure out what Igor's present age. I want to know how old he is right now, today. In 234 years, he will be 1,002. So 1,002 is how old he's going to be. And that will be in 234 years. So to get to today, I have to subtract 234 years because I'm going back in time, or to today's time. You have to think about it, don't you? It's a little bit of logic there. It's already happened. If you add the 234, that's going to give you 1,002. So we have to subtract the 234 to find out how old he is today. So let's see. If I have 2, can I take away 4? No. So what we know is we can make 199 and make the 2 a 12. 12 take away 4 is, do I hear it? Yes, 8. Who said that? You're right. It is 8. 9 take away 3 is, do I hear a 6? I do hear a 6. And then 9 take away 2 is 7? Yes, it's 7. So, if he's 768 years old today, we can take 768. And then we add back the 200. You know what? I'm going to do it under. We're going to add back the 234 years. And that should equal 1,002, shouldn't it? So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 2 carry the 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 0 carry the 1, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I checked my answer and it was right. So right now, Igor is 768 years old. So let's see if that was the question. How old is Igor's son? Oh, well, we don't know his son yet. We only know Igor's age. So how do we find out how old Igor's son is? Well, we have to go back and reread. If you subtract 534 from his current age, you get the age of his son. So we take his current age, which is 768, and we subtract 500 34. And they told us that's going to be the age of Igor's son. So 8 take away 4 is 4. 6 take away 3 is 3. And 7 take away 5 is 2. So I believe that the age of Igor's son is 234 years young. No, years old. But I guess if you're a wizard, that would be very young, if you can live past 1,002 years. So I believe the answer is 234 years old. So let's see if we did it properly. To find Igor's present age, you had to take 1,002, subtract 234, and we got 768. To find Igor's son's age, you had to take his current age of 768 and subtract 534, and you should have gotten 234 years old. So we did it. And that's how you work with finding missing terms. You have to ask yourself, what is the biggest number? If you know the biggest number, you need to subtract. If the biggest number is missing, you have to add. If you're doing multiplication, you have to do the division to find your answer. As always, stay curious, and I'll see you next time. Bye.